All right.
Hey, everybody, we're back. Another week in the books.
Another exciting, tumultuous week where the fans are tearing themselves, splitting into factions, and causing all sorts of problems right in front of a super important, super serious tournament.
What? Rift Rivals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
So it's done now, so we know how that played out. I think fans are not.
/ sarcasm.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, before we get into that, this is Den of Thieves. Welcome to I'm going to call this the Rift Rivals 2018 episode. We did episode names a couple times, just numbers. I don't think that works really because we're really just tying this to whatever happened the week before. So this week was Rift Rivals 2018. As a new fan of the NALCS, I had no idea what Rift Rivals was. And it seemed like no one else did either because they switched the format up significantly this year. So,
not to mention the format's different for all of the different
of course
stuff. So
right, some regions have like 6 different participants from different regions.
Right.
We have 6 too, but we're all just from the 2 regions. So I thought the tournament was super cool. And I know that we're actually gonna start kind of where we left last episode off. But just to kind of outline what we're going to talk about today, we recorded last week's episode immediately after the Meteos news came out. Literally, I think 40 minutes after he tweeted out his tweet, and then so we're gonna pick up there just because we want to capture everything that happened in the past week. We do have a lot to talk about with Rift Rivals. There's a lot going on there, obviously, and then we'll talk about kind of getting back to normal, as much as that's a thing with what's gone on the last week for 100 Thieves. But maybe start to talk about what week 4 has in store for us. It's going to be a couple good games, so we'll end there. But do you want to get us started talking about Meteos? And, there's a benefit to posting your content immediately after something happens. But there were a couple pieces of content that came out even after we recorded. So want to make sure we get those in too.
Yeah. And I think, I don't think we were overreacting. I think we were kind of, adding the caveat to everything we were saying that, we're not sure what happened.
Yeah.
Everything we're saying is speculation.
Mm-hmm.
But can't say the same for the community at large.
Yeah.
As soon as Meteos tweeted, pretty much everything blew up.
Yeah.
And everybody was arguing, taking sides, and speculating on what happened, reading details into people's tweets, and just really, really reacting strongly. And I thought that was, I get it because you want to talk about it. Meteos is a player that a lot of people really like. He's a popular dude.
Mm-hmm.
And so people immediately wanted to react to this. We knew there would be an official explanation.
Yep.
And that's what we'll go to first, is the statement that came from 100 Thieves. Now, that statement didn't come out until the following Monday.
Yeah.
So that was July 2nd.
Which, in real time it was less. It was probably 12 hours.
Yeah. And really, I bet they had something prepped, and then the Meteos tweet kind of made them replan, because that was kind of an unscripted moment. One of the things I'll say about the statement is, and you can read it on their Twitter if you haven't seen it, just go to the 100 Thieves Twitter. Go Twitter at the 100 Thieves. Go to their Twitter and search for the Meteos trade. You'll see it if you haven't read it already. But they gave way more explanation and insight into this than I think. Definitely than I was expecting, but I think a lot of people were expecting. And I'm not sure. I think I made this point last week. The organization is still trying to figure out how to disseminate information to the public, whether that is how we edit the heist, or this, with how much of an explanation are we going to give for our actions.
Mm-hmm.
Does it harm you or help you to put all the details out there? And they didn't put all the details out there, but they put a lot. Though I do think overall they did a good job. Now, the thing that happened with this, the big revelation from the 100 Thieves announcement, was that Meteos had initiated this process of talking to other teams about a trade. Right. Now, we can split hairs about, did he ask for a trade, or was this a situation where he kind of just brought it up and floated it out there, or was he just questioning his, position on the team?
Yeah.
We can split hairs about that, talk about it later, but what came clear to me from the 100 Thieves statement was that Meteos had initiated this whole deal, which was surprising.
He was the first one who brought the idea up, right? Like, well, and maybe they were thinking about it already, because it said that they've been trying to work on the kind of clashing of personalities for a long time. In the statement, they mentioned that. So maybe it was on their mind, and maybe they'd even started to put out feelers, right? Hey, does anybody need a jungler? But what they did make really clear was he was the one who brought it up. And I think one of the things that we'll learn about organizations in this new franchise system is they have every reason to protect their best interests and really no obligation to protect the players. They have to follow the contracts, of course. I mean, they have contracts with these players. But as soon as you have a player on your team who comes to you and says, hey, I want to start talking to other teams and see about moving teams or being traded, like, as an organization, you have to manage your own interest in this transaction, right? So if he goes to somebody and he becomes dead set, let's say I'm going to TSM, and then he starts negotiating on behalf of the organization, he's not going to put them in as advantaged a position. So they have to go out and do this once he says that he's thinking about doing it. They're not going to let him negotiate for them.
Right. Because it automatically weakens the organization's position. Yeah. As soon as word gets out that a player wants out, you're getting less for your dollar.
Right.
Just automatically, that's what happens. And we've seen it again and again in like football and basketball and all that stuff. So it's no surprise that it's coming out here. Now, I agree, the point that you were making about they have no obligation to do anything other than serve their best interest, which I 100% agree with. And we'll revisit that. But it was interesting in the statement, they actually talked about exploring an opportunity that Meteos would still have a chance to at least compete for a starting spot on the roster.
Right.
Now, the thing with that is, if you consider the amount of teams and players that are in LCS and NA especially, I mean, you do not have a lot of choices. You don't have a lot of places to go to.
Right.
You are looking at an extremely limited number of slots.
Yeah.
And because chemistry is so important, and all of these rosters have been practicing together and playing together for a long time, trying to hit on that chemistry. Anytime you make a change, even if it's going to be for, potentially a better player, it probably is going to have some negative consequences, which scares away a lot of teams when the split is so short.
Especially just a few weeks into the split. Like, you're kind of, you're taking a huge chance there that you might just blow up your split, and that you could literally lose every game from that point on if they don't mesh well.
Mm-hmm. And you don't know what you have as a team.
Yeah.
Like, it's so early that maybe you are just getting the hang of funnel strats and you're going to be amazing at it and dominate the rest of the split. You don't know.
Yeah.
You really don't know what you have.
Well, and that's kind of where we felt like we were at the end of last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had two really good showings, and Meteos played a good role in that. So even in the week that they spent, it was probably about a week that they spent trying to trade him. Things changed significantly in our own roster. So it's just, and by the time FlyQuest had agreed to trade for him, they wouldn't have seen those matches, right? Like that, I'm guessing that was agreed. People talked about it being agreed to on Friday. They didn't tell them on Sunday, which is another thing people get really worked up about.
Yeah, which we will definitely be revisiting here in a minute.
Yeah. But, there's so little data to work with. And then even after things have been agreed to, it's like, oh, he's showing some versatility here. He's, maybe he's agreeing that he's going to take kind of a less prominent role in our strats. It's just, you're working with such little information that it's a really tough spot.
Yeah. And, just figuring out what to do is not straightforward. And there could be multiple good options.
Yeah.
And multiple bad options. So
there were a couple of things I wanted to bring up that we hadn't really talked about last week that have come to my mind since. One of them is we had So in Meteos, we had the second All-Pro team jungler. He was voted the second best jungler in the league last split.
Right. In the region.
In the region, yes. We got for him an academy jungler from the worst team in the league at the time. They were in last place at the time that they traded him to us. So he went from second best jungler in the league in the region to academy player for the last. Like, I mean, I think it goes to your point, which was it's a huge risk to shake up your roster at any point in the middle of a split, especially I think toward the beginning. But it also makes me wonder, like maybe other teams are not so sure about Meteos, right? Maybe they are, especially with the kind of the dynamic piece. Maybe he has a reputation that we're not really that aware of.
Yeah, he could be like, not blacklisted, but slightly affected. You might have that mark on your name. That's certainly possible.
Yeah. Well, and if you call saying, hey, are you looking for a jungler? The first question they're going to ask is, well, why, right? You have this amazing jungler. I mean, they're probably going to put 2 and 2 together here. And who knows, maybe the owners talk a lot more than we think, but it's such a strange way for this all to shake out when you look at the value that you would assign to somebody in that position versus what we end up getting for him.
Yeah. It would kind of be like, if you traded Kyrie Irving for Jordan Clarkson or something,
Yeah.
Which right. That speaks to you. I mean, we can sit here and talk about that. You at home, you can tweet about it, get on Reddit, do whatever, and talk about how in the world could they make this change. Well, guess what? Probably, and Nate Shot aren't stupid either.
Yeah.
Like they know. Yeah, right. They know that they're getting a product in return that is not as high quality. So that should speak to you about the depth of the problems that are going on. Like right. It's bad enough that they are willing to make that change.
Right.
That
like
drastic change.
One that on paper looks like a bad trade. And I think that was people's initial reaction. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, this is not an equivalent trade here. You've made a mistake.
Right. Well, and this is, I think, maybe the first ever 1-for-1 trade in NA LCS.
I saw that.
So, we are not used to this sort of thing happening in the first place. So there's definitely no precedent for the value of things. Whereas in another league, hey, well, this caliber of player, you got to throw in this many draft picks and, these kind of players. There's kind of like a formula to it in other leagues. Right. But in this is one of the first times, if not the first time, that we've ever seen something like this. So that's actually, for me, that's why it was so interesting to see in the statement about this, them stating that Anda is going to start.
Yeah.
Before. So they'd already announced the Rift Rivals plan to put Levi and Brandini in there. But they came out and said, no, Anda is going to jungle for us in week 4, which, you have to assume means that someday is going to be safe.
I have to assume. I can't think. Yeah. I can't think of any scenario where he's not on our starting roster. Yeah, he's just too good. He's too good.
Someday Rio thing has to be, kind of stable for the time being, at least.
Yeah. And I do think that's one that we'll continue to hear about throughout this split and probably beyond. And I've got a lot I want to say about that just based on what we saw at Rift Rivals and how the people we brought showed up. There's a lot that we were interested to see. And I think we saw a lot. So, I think we should both say though, like this, I have no bad blood toward Meteos. And just because I'm kind of siding with the organization on this doesn't mean that I think Meteos is a bad dude or that he, I think he could have played his cards better. I think that's, and that's kind of how he opened his video. He said, I kind of made a mistake in how I handled this. And I would agree with that. I mean, I think he missed an opportunity here, which was, he made a really kind of snap decision. It seemed like, this all happened very quickly after being told that Levi was going to go to Rift Rivals instead of him. And that was that was him leaving the organization. So, but I think, from a personal standpoint, I think the way he handled it also puts him in a disadvantaged situation and position on his new team, which isn't great either. Like he's now going into that with, I'm sure they're not thrilled with that tweet that he sent that they asked him to delete. Like, that makes a bad first impression. So I hope for the best for him. I feel bad that this went down the way it did. It's a bad situation. It stinks, but he's got to now pick it up and do what he should have done in the first place, which is impress his new team and fight for the starting spot. Because we both know that from a skill standpoint, he can definitely do it. Like there's no question.
He's great, but I think he learned a tough lesson here, and if you think about the video that he released, and you notice that, as he pointed out, the first thing he does is apologize for kind of mishandling it. And he tried to explain where his mind was at during it, which, it's easy to understand how you'd be flustered in that situation and maybe make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But if you keep listening through the video and you hear the thread of just like, it's just kind of like insecurity and immaturity was the thing underlying this whole thing. We talked about it last week when we were talking about him being, opposed to helping academy players because it's weird because that you're taking your spot potentially. Well, that plus, he mentioned in the video that the thing that really started off his request for a trade was the Rift Rivals announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's kind of like, I think part of the blame lies with 100 Thieves in there, at least, if we're to take Meteos at his word, which the way that both sides handled this, I don't think there's any reason to think any of them are acting disingenuously.
Maliciously.
Like their stories do mesh. They really do. And it's different perspectives on it, but they corroborate each other. And he was saying that, the communication about Rift Rivals being a permanent or non-permanent thing was kind of unclear to him, and that he heard different things from different staff members. Mm-hmm. And again, young organization, I'm sure there's some truth to that. Like not everybody's 100% on point with the message. And that's just the challenges of having a new organization, a new staff, and a young kind of inexperienced staff.
Yeah.
So if the communication on 100 Thieves was locked down a little bit better, maybe this situation wouldn't have unfolded the way it was. Yeah. But at the same time, Meteos even points out that 100 Thieves told him that they were told by FlyQuest there would be an opportunity to have a starting spot. I think.
Play for
it. As you pointed out earlier, they don't have any obligation to do anything other than get the best deal that they can.
Yeah.
But it looks like they actually kind of went out of their way to get him a spot where at least he could have a chance at starting. Yeah. It wasn't a guaranteed spot, but to me, that's that's a concession that they gave to Meteos out of kindness, and they neither side is without blame here.
Mm-hmm.
But that they did do at least some of this in pretty good faith. So that was the takeaway for me from Meteos' video. It just sounds like he's new to these kind of situations, and he's like a veteran player, but the league is different now, and franchising is different now, and the team is different now, and it just I think that you're going to have a couple sacrificial lambs as the league comes around in maturity and in becoming a more serious, structured thing. And I think Meteos is the first in a line of 2 to 5 sacrificial lambs.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I think all you can hope is that those in line behind him watch this, learn from it. Hopefully the Players Association takes off, and that when people are stressed out, they give them a call, whoever it is I saw that Double Lift is the vice president. So I don't think he doesn't seem to me like somebody who would necessarily be give good advice in a crisis. But it's, I guess we got the benefit of being the guinea pigs on this one.
Yeah, and I mean, you're pointing to something that's larger too with the Players Association and Double Lift and everything. I mean, this just points to the maturation process that the fans are going through, that the league is going through, that front office staff or all these teams are going to go through. Mm-hmm. This is just going to be par for the course. And there's a really good article on ESPN that I posted to the 100 Thieves Reddit earlier in the week that was, kind of talking about the maturity level and, what are our expectations when situations like this happen? What are the resources being available to players right now, and how are they taking advantage or not taking advantage of it?
Yeah.
They mentioned the Players Association. Double Lift was joking about not wanting to go, even though he's in the executive leadership of the Players Organization. Like, in major sports leagues, these are the organizations that negotiate for your rights.
Right.
They come to the table to hammer together a collective bargaining agreement that protects the players. So if you've got your stars not taking it seriously, like that's not setting a good precedent. And then on the other side, the fans are reacting, in my opinion, way too harshly to what's going on, like not being able to understand that this is a business. And yes, it started out as a game, and it started out as a game that you love to play, and you became attached to, you know, these great players, these great personalities, people that you watch stream, you watch them grow, you watch them make their way into the LCS and live out, you know, that dream, that fantasy of you know, that being your job to play this awesome game.
Get paid.
And people just, and people just were really, really attached to the stories behind these players. And so I can understand where they're coming from. If you're really upset, if you are truly so upset at 100 Thieves for the Meteos thing, I can understand where you're coming from. But I encourage you to disconnect yourself a little bit from the player perspective and think about what it's like to be an organization in that situation.
Yeah.
This is a business. I mean, the organization has investors that are putting pressure on them. There's, you know, everything is being built, everything is new, and these are young people that are trying to act like adults, both on players and front office side.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be a rough transition, so it's better to learn from it right now instead of just, you know, fuming about what happened with Meteos. And again, we love the guy, and I'm sad to see him go. I think we are definitely worse off than we were before.
Yeah, no
but
question.
That's the reality of the situation. And if you don't get that, then read, spend some time, like just work through it because it needs to happen. Or go with Meteos to a new team too. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean,
I'm just
like
saying.
you're a more Lakers fan today than you were yesterday.
Sure. Full disclosure to the podcast, I'm a massive LeBron James fan.
I mean, you are wearing a Cleveland shirt. I am wearing a
Cleveland shirt. This is from the 2018 finals, but you know.
And that's, you know, hey, it's neither here nor there. But it's we see similar things in all sports. Any sport that people love and get attached to. I think most often you'll have people in a city that they have grown up in, following their team who is in that city with them. We don't have that, right? We have logos to look at. We have you know, content that's put on YouTube and elsewhere. But there isn't loyalty in the same way that you get with a city where you've spent time growing up. We might get
all
that.
These teams are just sitting there in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's just all LA. So it is just based on the feeling you get when you think about the organization, when you think about the players, and I think it'll be interesting for us to see over time. Is it one or the other? You know, I think you and I would feel like, I think it's been made pretty clear that we feel more kind of affinity toward the organization than the players. But you know, I don't think it's impossible to say that if they decide to blow up the roster, right, and if Aframu and someday are gone next split, we might have to think about it, right? Like that's it's to be thought of. So I think you're totally right. If Meteos is the reason that you came to Thieves in the first place, if he's always been your favorite, then maybe there's not a lot for you to stay for, and that's fine too. That's fine. Yeah.
And we're just gonna ride that roller coaster until things kind of settle in, you know. So.
Yeah, and I think they will. I think it's going to take time. And I even think that over the last week, it's kind of settled down a little bit. I mean, Mark Z made a great video just kind of about, hey, this is the new world, and it's going to happen, and people are going to get traded. And
absolutely watch that video from Mark Z if you haven't already.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I agreed with almost 100% of that. And, you know, he's in a position to make that point a lot more poignantly than I can, you know, from my little computer chair at home. But
it was platform.
A great explanation of you know what it's going to be like from this point on. And he was on Hotline League talking about the same thing, you know,
and not only that, but just, you know, what it's going to be like. And this happened as we should expect it to happen, right? That decisions are made without the players' input all the time. And that decisions are made before they're told to people. Like these things are just going to be, that's going to be the norm. And so it stings, right? And I think that over time we'll get there. Players will become more accustomed to it and they'll get used to it. And I think the league will mature.
Yeah.
Just over time.
Just don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Realize it's a business.
Yeah. And not taking it personally doesn't mean that you don't decide to stop being a fan of an organization.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just
Right.
the way you go about, arguing on the internet about your opinions. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Right now.
We could all use a crash course in how to do that well.
Yeah.
Disagreeing.
Right.
So luckily we both agree on this one. Should we put it in the books?
What'd you say? Sorry.
Should we put it in the books?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, Meteos, best of luck to you.
We
best
miss
wishes. We miss you. And honestly, I mean, I really hope that we get to see him on the FlyQuest senior squad so that we can play against him. Because I think that's a great storyline, right? That's why we watch.
Bring in the drama.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, drama doesn't hurt anybody in the narrative of the league. So
I think you should.
Well, should we go to Rift Rivals?
Let's do Rift Rivals.
Okay. So Rift Rivals. Wow. What a mess. What a mess.
What a mess. I think what a mess all around. Like, this is a 100 Thieves podcast, but I think NA is kind of a mess right now.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I clearly was just watching from the 100 Thieves perspective because there's so much going on that I didn't really, have the time to concentrate on all of it. But holy cow, we got to see the Brandini Levi experiment.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen enough of it, right?
This particular iteration, yeah, I think I've got enough on this one to make a call.
Yeah. Well, let's lay it out. So game 1 was against G2, which sucks because guess what? G2 is by far the favorite of this tournament. And
undefeated in their home region, LCS. And even after Rift Rivals is over, they've only lost one game between both EU LCS and Rift Rivals. So they're good. Yeah. They're good.
It's a little bit unlucky on the draw here to pull up to G2 to run the first iteration of the Levi Brandini experiment. Really quick, just running down the draft. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but the bans just seemed weird on both sides to me. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen, and that's probably because it was so experimental. Yeah. I think most teams came into Rift Rivals with kind of an experimental mindset, but like G2 banned Shen and left Kaisa. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. It was like, okay. But clearly, as the draft played out, we saw that 100 Thieves were going to build around Levi's Graves, which is, a known quantity. We know that Levi's great on Graves. So they ran like this hyper funnel strat for him, putting Cody Sun on Alistar.
Yeah, that's how you know it's a funnel, when you've got Cody Sun on Alistar.
And maybe G2 knew that was going to happen. Like I said, they leave Kaisa on the table, and Cody Sun is Alistar. So
that's true. That's an interesting thought. Worth noting, G2, I think people agree, is the best at funnel strat. So the fact that we pulled out funnel strat against them, one, shows some gumption from Prolly, for sure. But then they didn't even match us funnel strat. They just went standard.
No, they did. Yeah. And let me say this. I believe 100% that the strategy of this game was not necessarily let's go win this one. I think it was let's make Levi look good.
You think so?
I think it was let's protect Levi and give him a good debut. Otherwise, I don't see the rest of this team comp.
Okay.
If it's different. Like, you don't have Cody Sun Alistar. You don't have Brandini on Rumble.
Yeah. That was the face I made when I saw him draft Rumble too.
Yeah, it's like the comp did not make sense for anything other than let's make sure Levi has a good debut. And for all intents and purposes, he did. I mean, he went 7-3-4. He looked good on the Graves for most of the time.
He looked great on the Graves, dude. He pulled off some sick plays. He was styling so hard. There were a couple that jumped out at me. He had a disgusting I don't even know if he flashed. I think he just dashed into the Zoe after she had done her ult. She ported forward, and he was just in her face with a shotgun, and that was it. That was the end of the Zoe. And then that last base defense, man, where it was 2 versus 4, and he ended up killing 3 people. Oh, it was so good. With the flash away from the pike hook, like that. Yeah. So I think it accomplished what you had said they wanted to accomplish, I think.
Yeah.
which was this dude is a playmaker for
There
sure.
was so much build up to it, right? It was like, all right, Levi's finally here.
Yep.
We saw him on Gig by Marines. We know what he's capable of. But we know the underlying thing was that, hey, he has not been doing well in academy.
Right.
Like he just had been kind of sitting there and not really standing out. So I think this was like, all right, let's give him this breakout game. And as we mentioned, it went well for him, but that's it.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really bad other than that.
Yeah. Well, and I think as so the first game made clear two things. One, Levi's here and he's going to show everybody how jungle works. And two, Brandini is also in the 100 Thieves organization and we've invited him to play with us today. Right? Like they absolutely abandoned him. And to the point where I can't remember who it was. I saw somebody tweeting. It was somebody from EU, maybe one of the callers, who was like, you guys need to lay off Brandini. He was left to die over and over and over again on this. There was literally nothing he could have done to have.
There was no help coming to him. They were hard camping him. Like,
yeah, he was 3-on-1 a lot of the time. It was always 2-on-1 at least. You feel horrible for the guy. I mean, like, this is his big debut on the international stage and just gets destroyed, dude. It was uncomfortable.
Yeah. I have a note. It says, Brandini, welcome to LCS. 0-4-1 at 23 minutes.
Yeah, I had that too. 0-4-1, and then he got his kill, but he was 1-5-2, right? Like he got his kill and then he died again immediately.
Yeah. And like I noticed when they show him his little camera in the stream, it's like it looked like he was more and more a kid every time they showed him. It's like the jersey was getting bigger or something. Like, oh my
gosh.
They just really baptized him, and I felt so sorry for him. Well, I mean, he didn't play well either, but they definitely took advantage. And
yeah, it's as much as you believe in the mental aspect of the game, like that's the hardest start you can have in your pro non-academy career. You're at an international event. You're with a squad who's not practiced together. You're up against the best team in Europe right now. They are top of the heap. Just and you are their key to victory, right? Like they are just going to go up there and feed various members through your lane. It sucks.
Yeah, their win condition is Brandini played.
So,
and we honestly we survived longer in this game than we should have. We got Baron twice,
way longer.
We had a couple denies in there that really kept him alive. But as I think we'll continue on to game 2 unless you have anything else to say. But I think the Levi thing, it was kind of exposed for just being a funnel and a setup for him as we went throughout the
it was I think if we were playing a lesser team, I think it would have worked. I think we would, like if we pulled that off against Golden Guardians, I think we win that game for sure.
Yeah.
And I think Levi looks like an absolute monster against that team, but no, it wasn't. It was G2.
Yep.
So that was a tough one. And then Ryu got oh no, this is for next game. So next game,
Fnatic, which is kind of interesting, right? It's like you don't really know how it's going to play out. Fnatic's favored over 100 Thieves, but you got to like your chances in this one more than against G2. Right. And they backed off of the Levi funnel strat.
Yeah.
We saw comp. So Brandini was on Ornn, Levi's on Camille, Ryu's on Galio, Cody-san on Misfortune, which was kind of the weird thing. That's not his champion. Afro on Alistar. We know, who
this
that
whole
is.
comp is not good, man.
Yeah, it was kind of just. I mean, Ornn and Afro on Alistar. Those are pretty standard things. But it's Brandini that's on Ornn.
Yeah.
And so what are you going to do? You're going up against Soaz is on Shen, Brock's on Sejuani, Caps is on Zoe, Buipo on Swain, which was weird, and Hillisang on Tom Kench. And didn't go so well. I mean, I thought other than us having a kind of weird comp or whatever, seemed like our bands were better. Seemed like we learned from the last one. But unfortunately, the way the game played out
was really bad. I think it was after this game that I texted you and I said, "This is the worst game I've ever seen us play."
Yeah,
we lost. We got outclassed. Like, we lost every lane matchup that we had, and it wasn't close.
And we started out great.
Yeah.
Like the start on this, I was like, holy cow! Like, maybe, you know, we found something, because Brandini was playing like safer.
Yeah.
He dodges a gank at level 4. We get first blood on Sejuani. Bot was pushed nicely. Ryu like escaped a dive and turned around and killed Zoe.
Yep.
Which, that's no joke. And then everything goes wrong. Like,
he barely escaped that dive. That was like a 4 HP escape. Yeah.
And Fnatic just all of a sudden, there's a point where like they killed everybody, like all over the map.
In every lane.
Like the camera can't move around fast enough because there's so much happening. And then like Cody-san did a weird TP that just didn't make any sense.
We've talked about the Cody-san spectrum. That was far left.
You're absolutely right, because he got killed in lane, turned around and TP'd in off of that kill to get killed twice in the same team fight. Like, oh my gosh, man. Could we not have avoided that situation? And what I said after that was, I feel embarrassed. I'm not sure I've ever felt this embarrassed.
You can imagine how he feels. Although I think the guy's got thick skin. Like, you look at his Twitter feed, seems like he's feeling okay right now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's a wonderful person. I just don't want to see him playing top for us. You know.
Are you talking about Brandini?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. You're talking about Cody-san. Yes. I'm already jumping forward to my notes because I'm so scatterbrained about this. But yeah, Cody-san. Yeah, he's learning those alternative summoner spells. So I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Maybe he thought he was hitting heal. Just want to get a little quicker heal at the fountain. I don't know. And then he fat fingered teleport, and then he fat fingered clicking it onto our turret, which it happens. You know, it's a series of fat fingers.
Yeah.
So the thing we learned from the first game is that Levi is here and that he can play Graves well. The second game was, for me, it showed us that NA is just much less dynamic than EU right now. I think EU, my impression is they've done a much better job at adapting to this meta. And I think you don't need to look any further than Reckless sitting on their bench, right? Like,
that's insane. If you think about how MSI went, like, that's insane.
It's insane. And they are so, I mean, Swain into Cody-san on Misfortune is all you need to see to look at, like, to understand why they did that. He demolished Cody-san. Misfortune, that she was completely out of that game. She had nothing to do. She didn't carry enough damage to really do anything in any fight that she was in. It was a disaster. Her ult was useless. Like,
yeah, finished 1-5-2 on the match, and Swain was 8-2-8.
8. Yeah, the one kill she got was after they had dived past the inhib to try to just wipe us all out underneath both Nexus turrets. Like, that's why she got a kill, because they were just getting picked apart.
Yep,
it was not pretty, dude.
Jordan's got receipts, Cody.
I'm remembering these.
Well, it just looked like we didn't have any idea of how we're supposed to play this game. Like, and I don't mean League of Legends, I mean against Fnatic. Yeah, it just didn't look like we knew what we were supposed to do. And we waited too long to even react to stuff that was going on in our base. They had super minions coming in.
Yes.
Let's keep playing super minions. Yeah, whatever.
And then there was one point where the casters were saying they're urging Brandini to blow the horn. They're like, just do something, like, try it, blow the horn, like, use your ult, press R. And it was painful to watch, man. It was embarrassing. It sucked. That game, not good.
I made the mistake of looking through the chat as this was going on, and it was just incredibly toxic on both sides, right? Like, it was just so much hate to 100 Thieves and NA. So much stuff about Meteos, like, oh, Meteos could have turned this or whatever, which maybe that's the case, but
I mean,
and then people on the other side, NA just being idiots back, and it felt bad. Not only the game, but the product, right? Like the stream, the entertainment was just like, ugh,
like they went. It's actually, that's really interesting you bring that up, because they went. I mean, Rift Rivals. It's in the name. It's a rivalry. This is the one time that Riot brings and encourages people to be toxic. at least to some degree, right? Like they have trash talk. They've got the announcers are doing banter back and forth about who's better. And I get it. Like that's what you want to go for. That's the reason you'd have this
play
tournament.
it up. Yeah. That's what we're here for.
But that's an invitation for everybody on the internet to just be completely toxic, like so bad. And I think that's where this landed. So I'll be interested to see how they do it, because they want to make a game that's not toxic. It's hard to do an event like this and do it well, but it doesn't end in just people, being completely abhorrent.
Yep. Welcome to the internet, 2018.
Yes. Thank you, Rift Rivals.
So let's just forget about that game. Let's just pretend it didn't happen.
Let's talk about
Splice.
Levi was 05 and 2.
Levi. Okay. Yes. You're going to call him out.
And Ryu got absolutely shamed by the Zoe. The Zoe was out of control. She would hit one paddle star on Misfortune and take out 2/3 of her health. One skill.
Ryu had the best stat line for 100 Thieves, though. I should point out 3, 5, and 1 was the top there, and no one was really close. So, unless you're talking about deaths, Levi and Cody-san. Okay, so that moves us to Splice, which was kind of like seen as the gimme game, right? It's like, Splice is the team you're playing. You can just check the W column already.
Yeah.
We saw, in my opinion, good bans came out from 100 Thieves. They removed some of the champions that they've been having problems with, except the Rumble. They banned Rumble.
What?
Brandini's the only guy who's going to play Rumble. and that's the reason no one else is playing it. They can watch and see how terrible it is.
I did see somebody else pick Rumble at this event. I can't remember who it was. It's not another game. I wasn't paying that close attention. But I was like, did
the
Rumble
audience
get
participation portion of the program?
Did Rumble get like a hot fix and they buffed him?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But he even looks ridiculous. Anyway, it's not important. So it broke out to Brandini on Mundo, Levi on Skarner, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Ryu on Swain, Cody-san on Lucian, Afro on Morgana, aka the assist god.
Mm-hmm.
And on the side of Splice, Odoamne was on Vladimir, Xerxes on Sejuani, Niski on Rise, Kabi on Ezreal, and Kasing, am I saying that right? Kasing was on Alistar. So, I didn't read too much into the draft other than, our bans were pretty good. So
did we ban Aatrox?
Yeah, we did ban Aatrox.
Did we ban Heimer?
Yes, Heimer was banned as well.
We should have just done that against every team we played against.
I know that's why I was saying these bans make sense for us.
Yeah,
they
would have made sense for any NA team.
Yeah.
We'll never ban him.
But I was particularly excited to see Skarner play because Skarner is very exciting to watch, and Levi is very aggressive, and so I was gearing up for a good match from him. And since it was Splice, I was thinking we were going to win this one, so it felt pretty good at the beginning.
Yeah. This game felt fairly uneventful to me. It was I thought Brandini looked really good on Mundo. Like he was impossible to kill.
Well, yeah, and how much of that is Mundo being Mundo and
played Mundo again the next
against
game.
that team comp?
Yeah.
And how much of it is Brandini playing good? I thought he was a little over aggressive personally, but
I mean I thought he performed his role admirably, which was just get in there and be imposing and threaten here and there. And just like at one point they had 3, it was like you put the yakety sax behind it and it was a highlight reel clip. It was just him running around their base. And he was like healing insanely, he had Warmogs, he had his ult. You couldn't kill the guy. And so they would send 3 guys over to engage him. I mean, I'm just describing to you what a split push is, but they really invested and went for it. So they would send like 3 down, and then you'd see the thing flash on the screen of red team turret destroyed, and like everybody else on our team was just sitting over there having the easiest siege of their life. So I thought he did great.
And they only killed him once.
Yeah, and he was in situations where he should have been killed way more than that.
Definitely.
So hats off. Like the dude, and I feel like that's not really the type of play we've seen. I mean, that's not Someday's game, right? Like Someday is amazing at League. He's really, really good.
And he's going to take over.
And he will take over. But and that's one of the things I think we can get from this, right? There are different strats that we can play based on who's on our squad. If we've got Levi in jungle, he can almost win the game for us, almost, against a really good team. Maybe Brandini's thing is that he is just the split pusher and he can play the tanks and he can do it really well. Yeah.
So I'm picking up that I am not as hot on Levi as you are. In this game, we saw a messed up ult where he didn't do the butt twist at the end, to secure the kill on the gank.
Yeah.
Which could have been very important early on. We also, I think the way it comes off to me is that Levi plays either overconfident or scared, and there's no like in between. There's no happy medium where it's just like he's running all over the place trying everything and either being successful or not, or he's just like just silence basically.
Yeah.
And in this game, I thought he was playing pretty confidently, but his mechanics were just a little bit off on the Skarner. And so you saw him like get ready to dive a couple times, but his timing was bad and he didn't catch the spire the right way. And, so he didn't speed boost the way he wanted and all that stuff. Like it just seemed like, I was okay. I mean, he finished, what was it? His line was 5, 3, and 9. So it's not like he didn't do anything. He had some amazing ults, some game defining ults. Even.
Yeah. Yeah. He busted open a couple of fights with a well-placed ult, which is Skarner's job. Right.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm really, and I should clarify, I'm really high on Levi in his ability to bring a game-defining performance. Like I think he can be our someday in the jungle, and I don't think Meteos had that. I think you should build your team around different strengths. Like I think you should have a guy like Meteos who is kind of, in my mind, a pure jungler. Like he just plays the role and he plays it really well. And then to have Levi behind him who has tons of carry potential, who can play, these champions whose job is to just get the kill and go in and really disrupt things. Like I think that's smart. And so I think what we saw in Rift Rivals is like he did Skarner well enough for us to get the win, right? And he put in a couple really good ults, which is what you need Skarner to do. And then he showed us the Levi performance where it's like, okay, he can go off, right? And I just don't know that we've seen that as much from Meteos, so it feels different in that way.
Yeah, like his ceiling is very high.
Yeah, and I think there are all kinds of different ceilings too, right? Like I don't think that Graves game that he played, I don't think that makes him a better jungler than somebody like Meteos. I just think that it's a different job that he did. And I think for us, when you look at our main squad, Someday has shown that he can do that. I think Ryu has not shown that he can do that. I can't think of a game where Ryu has won us the game. Meteos, I would say, is the same. Afro, I think, has done it as playmaker.
Yeah, definitely.
And Cody did it countless times last split. So, and again, I think if you have somebody in one of those roles, like I think Meteos, just because Meteos wasn't the guy who stepped in and won us the game, like I think he supported the team so well, and like, he played champions who could set people up so well that I don't think it mattered.
Yeah.
So it's different. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need Levi to also show he can do that. So when it's not built around him, we don't lose.
Yeah. I think the team needs more time to get used to what he does too, because it just seemed like this game dragged on much longer than it should have.
Yeah.
There were times where it just didn't look like we knew what we were doing, and the game was at a standstill for pretty long stretches.
Right.
And it wasn't until we chugged through some pretty messy team fights that we were able to bust it open. I mean, Levi, that like flash ult on Kabe that he pulled, that earned us the Baron.
Was that the Ezreal where you locked up Ezreal?
Yeah. And he just totally turned that fight, earned us the Baron. That was very important. So there were plays like that. But we had another like really messy, unorganized looking team fight around Baron. Second time, we lost 2, could have been an ace. It just looked like not everyone's on the same page and not everyone's used to each other, and that's a time thing. It's not a referendum on how good each player is. It's just like, all right, well, this is the first time we're playing this lineup, and it's not a permanent lineup anyway. So,
like, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
If you look at our entire 10-man roster, right, senior and academy, And in my mind, it seems to me that we would be best off if we could at will flex people in to play a role that we think would set us up to win best. Is that realistic? Because is it realistic to think that you have essentially a 10-man roster with people coming and going? Like having strats based on 10 people rather than 5?
I kind of alluded to this in the last podcast, but I would say we play best of ones and there are no subs in the middle of the game.
Right.
And because of that, you want your best players to play.
So it's almost like you need an all-around player rather than a role player.
Yeah. I mean, unless you have carefully crafted a team where everybody knows their one role so well and you can piecemeal it out like that. But I just think that you are a slave to the meta. Yeah. And this meta in particular does not lend itself well to people who are hyper specialized in one thing. This is a flex meta. This is know your champion pool, be able to adapt quickly. And if we are playing best of 3 series or best of 5s, I would say, yeah, let's go for that. Let's try something because we can afford to take a risk and not have it pay off. But when it is, this is your one shot to win, I think you got to have, LeBron on the court. So I would say no. In this case, put your 5 best.
I think you may have convinced me. And the other thing that comes to mind for me is if you, in the scenario I just set up, let's say you put Levi in, you ban Graves, you ban Nocturne, and then, I mean, there are only so many champions he's going to have who can swing the game, right? I don't think his pool is that deep where he's got 5, 6, 7 hard carries ready to go. I don't know. But it is, I think that's one of the limitations too.
Yeah. So. Bans can neutralize somebody very quickly.
So. Right. And then you're left with pretty good Skarner versus what might otherwise be like, I feel like Meteos is definitely better Skarner.
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt about that. But, he played it admirably enough.
We won the game.
And, we won the game. And I think we won the game because of a couple plays that he made. So,
and Brandini.
And Brandini doing yakety sacks everywhere. Yes. So we get the win over Splice, which we kind of expected, but I expected it to come quicker than it did, which set us up for our finals game against Fnatic.
Rematch.
Ooh, the rematch. I honestly, the casters were talking about the draft in a very negative way. I didn't feel that bad about it, honestly. They were super pessimistic right away. I was pessimistic for other reasons. I was pessimistic because I didn't think we were good enough to beat them. But I didn't think it was the draft itself. Now maybe that's my my lack of league expertise showing. I mean, I'm a casual player and just a fan. But obviously the result indicated that yes, this was a bad draft for us. Brandini on Mundo again. Levi on Trundle, Ryu on Zoe, Cody-san, Ezreal, Aframu on Pike. So as went Heimerdinger, the Death Knell. Broxa went with Sejuani again, Caps on Lucian, Buipo on Aatrox, and Hylissang on Morgana, the assist god.
Yeah, I think all you got to say about that is we gave them both Aatrox and Heimer. At the time, I don't know if you could say that, like so many of the stats I've seen afterwards have been, well, neither of those champions lost. They're both 4-0. At the tournament, so they're it's just we have not, NA has not figured out how to play against them yet.
No, and Heimerdinger is a really technical champion, and since it's not familiar with everybody, I think they just kind of shy away from it. And but what I thought was going to happen was with Afro went with the Pike pick. I really thought this was all right, we're tired of getting beaten. We need our veteran to come in here and win us the game because Pike has ultra high playmaking potential. Yeah. So I was thinking, okay, this is about letting Aframu try to win this for us, and it did not work.
No, man, it didn't work at all. I
don't 5 and 4 on Pike.
I don't think I saw him use one ult the entire game. I don't think he used it once.
It doesn't come to mind, off the top of my head. So.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to win if your support is not able to use one of his abilities and it's his ultimate.
Right, and Buipo I thought looked crazy good. His stat line doesn't really reflect it. He was 4-3-2 when all was said and done, but like, holy cow, he was bullying Brandini.
Oh, so bad, dude.
And it looked bad. Like, Buipo got a kill on Brandini when Levi was like getting ready to gank, and they mishandled it because Brandini just like ran at him too early and telegraphed
really
it. He had like half health. Seemed like we were losing on all lanes. Only 5 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
I thought maybe there was like a glimmer of hope when Levi ganked bot lane 7.5 minutes. They got both kills and a flash
onto Ezreal.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was like, holy cow, like, when's the last time you saw a 3v2 gank like that get both?
Right.
Yep. But then they turned around and like picked off Aframu right afterwards. It's like, oh yeah, there's a reminder of what we're dealing with. And Cody's son was like the bright hope for us during this game.
Yeah.
He played really well. 5-1-2. Final line. He just looked like he knew the range of Ezreal so well, and he was just riding that fine line during the team fights of, not withdrawing all the way, even though he's pretty low health, and he got some kills as a result.
Like, is there a reason we can't have Levi on Graves and Cody's son on Ezreal? Like, is there a reason he has to play a support champion? Can't we?
You mean you're not a fan of the double support bot lane?
Gosh, dude. I mean, it's an experiment. I think we've established that. But like, I think we've learned a lot. We've learned that Cody's son plays marksman. Period. Yep. That he does, and he's really good at them. And you put him on him, he's going to get you kills, unless he's playing Misfortune. But like we've got to play to our win conditions. I just think one of our win conditions every game is to have Cody's son on a marksman who is viable in the meta. Like, I think you do that. You put Someday on a champion who has a kit that can get kills, and he's going to get kills. Like, after a certain point, we gotta hone in on what we're really good at, and I think we're learning that more, and we're getting a better sense of it.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, for a while we kind of held, like we held the gold in place, and we got some kills, we got some Baron denial, we got some things working for us where it felt like, all right, maybe we're in this, maybe we have a chance. Ryu looks like he's playing well, Cody Sun's playing well. Then we have Brandini goes off to split push bot instead of helping the team with Baron, and that proved pretty problematic. I mean, after that, I think Cody Sun got his like crazy double kill that came out of nowhere. I don't know how he survives, but they like turned right around and got Ryu and Cody both in the team fight, and that was GG.
That's it. We lost one team fight. It was 3 to 7 kills for over 10 minutes. The thing I thought about our comp was we had enough poke. Like, we had Zoe, who is just so hard to approach. We had enough damage and Cody to actually pick. We came out of a couple fights ahead, but they were winning the macro game, and all it was that they needed was one team fight win. And then once they got that, they walked straight down mid lane and just took out the Nexus. Like, they didn't need Baron or anything.
And thus ended the grand 100 Thieves Rift Rivals experiment of 2018.
RIP.
Yeah. So.
Oh man, it was tough, dude.
So what are your takeaways for Rift Rivals as a whole? Like, what did you learn, and what are you willing to say going forward?
About our team or about the tournament?
About our team.
I think we've learned that Brandini's not ready for the main stage yet. So I don't think that's something we can count on as being there. I almost wish that we would have put Linsanity in just to see. Because I think Ryu basically plays a holding mid for us. Like, I think he plays serviceably well, and he does, like, I'm not trying to dog him. He does a good job a lot of time, but he is not a WoW player for us. So if Linsanity is even close to that, then that could be a viable switch. And I think we got to figure that out. Like, we have to understand how good Linsanity is because if we ever want to get Levi time up top and the senior squad, the only way we're going to do that is if Ryu sits. In my opinion, that's the only way it happens.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I don't feel overall that is worth it right now.
I think you're right.
I feel more confident in the team starting Anda, who hasn't even scrimmed. Well, I mean, by now he's scrimmed with us, but you know what I mean? It's like, I feel more confident having someone coming in totally dry and cold and keeping Someday and Ryu in there.
Yeah.
Than I do
yeah,
having to lose one of them. I think Ryu is I think he's underrated. I think he's kind of like Kevin Love on the Cavs, where he's not often the top 1 or 2 players, but he's pretty consistent. Like, when's the last time we looked at Ryu and we're like, oh man, he was awful and he lost us the game?
He entered a couple times in this tournament in a pretty bad way.
Well, but not when it matters, right?
Right.
Like, right. I think Ryu is I think he is a solid glue guy for the team. And from what I read online, which is, whatever, say what you want about that, but it seems like he's very important to Someday. Like, they have a really good relationship.
I believe that for sure.
And
we need Someday.
We definitely need Someday. So my takeaway from this whole tournament is that was fun to see. Brandini is definitely not ready. And if the team feels that Brandini was a better experiment to run than Linsanity, then I don't think there's any way we can put Linsanity in. So bring on Anda, just plug him into Meteos' spot, keep everything else the same, and I'm willing to ride that out for the rest of the split. Like, I feel that strong.
I think I'm with you on that. I did not see enough from Levi to say we got to get him up to the senior squad, right? It's just not worth the risk at this point.
Because of the collateral damage.
Yeah.
Again, right. I think most people in their right minds would prefer to have Levi over Anda if imports wasn't an issue.
Right. There's another thing else. Here's something else to think about. I don't know how long Levi sticks around. I mean, I don't know. We might ship him, who knows? Like, he might get traded to another team. It's clearly a possibility. Maybe a team who doesn't have an import situation like we do, which is we have 2 super solid imports. I do wonder, though, if think about him in a year, right? Because one of the things I think about is the communication piece. Like, I think he clearly is learning English at the same time that he's learning how to play with the new team and the new region. Like, there's a lot going on right now. Another year could do him a lot. And if we can keep him around, I wouldn't be opposed to that for sure.
I'd like to keep him around too.
Yeah.
I hope we're able to hold on to him. If for nothing else, to keep him away from other teams who
right.
You know what I mean? It's like if you trade, you're trading to your enemy. So
yeah, exactly.
Get
him some reps. I just want to it needs more time.
Yeah, he does. And I hope it works out. And I hope we figure out what to do with the import situation. But like I said, right now, as presently constituted with Anda and the thing, I think that's our best bet. And I think we're looking at maybe a 4th or 5th place finish this split.
Yeah.
I think we'll still have enough to win games against teams like Golden Guardians and FlyQuest. But I don't see us making finals.
Cloud9, bottom of the bracket.
Yeah. Well, how long is that going to go on, though?
I don't know. I mean, I think if you need a cautionary tale about team chemistry, look no further, right?
Yeah, that's a poop show for sure. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But yeah.
But like, there are 2 teams who don't make playoffs. Right now, Cloud9 is pretty far behind. I can't imagine that we are going to be that other team. I think we're a lock for playoffs. I mean,
well, yeah, but finals. I can't see finals happening.
No, I don't see finals happening. So. Just let's make playoffs. I mean, think about it. We're an organization, our second split, right? Like, our expectations are kind of out of whack because of spring split and just how crazy everything was and amazing that we made it.
Honestly, we got lucky, to get that far. So you're right, but man, if it isn't fun to root for, your new team in that situation, I would love to see it again. But
another reason they got the hooks in so deep, I think, because talk about a crazy first split.
Right. So really quick, this Saturday we are going up against TSM, which I'm penciling in as an L.
I am as well. A couple reasons I think on that. TSM is definitely going to want to reassert themselves as top team in the league. They're in like a 4-way tie for first or something.
Everyone was clamoring for them to play at Rift Rivals.
Right, yeah. Because I think they won it last year for us. It's a different format, but basically the reason we held the trophy is because TSM was there. So they sat out Rift Rivals. We went and kind of stank up the place. They're going to want to smash us, and I think it's going to be really hard with a new squad to beat them.
Yeah. So I've got that as an L. And then on Sunday we play Golden Guardians, which that's a W. I mean, Golden Guardians looks a little better than they did last year.
Yep. They've got wins.
And they, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they beat Team Liquid this year?
Probably.
So it's like they, but I think that those flukes happen once in a blue moon, and I think we're a little too close. So I
also lost to Splice.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Splice is not good. Like I said, I think our roster is going to be better than it was at Rift Rivals. So I'm gonna think we split the week at 1-1, fall out of the first place tie. But
hey, let me make one more note on Anda. He was the third place vote for rookie of the split last split. I didn't know that about him.
I didn't either, and
yeah, I don't know how many rookies there were. But
we'll just wait and see. Who knows what's going to happen, man? It's impossible to tell at this point, and it could end up working out fine. It could end up tearing down the whole place. We're gonna have to live with the consequences. So
I'm super excited to see. I mean, I can't wait to watch him play this weekend. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm relieved to step back from the Rift Rivals thing and get into serious games. Plus, I think let the emotions calm down from the community about the Meteos thing and just get back to business and have some like standard routine games, and even if we lose them, I think it'll be just better to be in that mode again. And
if we lose them, people are going to be picking up the pitchforks and raring to go.
But I don't think they should feel that pressure, right now. Just play it, see how it goes, and we'll go from there.
New squad.
Yeah.
All right. Lots to look forward to, as always. We will be back in 1 week to talk about our games against TSM Golden Guardians. Hopefully we get a return to our social media or YouTube, the heist.
No heist episode this week.
No heist. No, nothing's given. I think that'll be an interesting episode to watch. Hopefully we get some more of those.
Yeah, they probably don't know how to do it. Let's just stop them altogether. It's not worth it. I do want to say thank you to everyone who listened in the past week, because last week was our second ever podcast, and we got a much, much, much bigger response out of it. And, there's a buzzing topic, and we were some of the first ones to talk about it online. So I'm sure that's helped. But, we saw a lot of subscribers, and we saw a lot of new views on our podcast. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. Please get involved. We'll be doing this every week. So subscribe to us. We're on Stitcher. We're on TuneIn. We're on the Google Play Store. Obviously on YouTube, we're on Twitch. We're hoping to be on iTunes soon.
Come on, iTunes, get together.
Yeah, come on, iTunes. We need to send some temp labor their way to help them get through the podcast queue. But yes, please remember to subscribe, leave us a review, leave us a comment on stuff. We'd love to hear from you and respond to your comments and opinions. And let's keep this thing moving, and let's cheer on 100 Thieves.
Yeah, and let us know if there's any topics you want us to touch on for next week.
Yep.
All right. Well, until then, have a good week. Take care and enjoy all of the Thieves content we'll have before we meet again.
Thanks for joining us.
All right. See you, everybody.